Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Michael Kelly, and joining us this evening from the Australian Army is Sergeant Jason Luck. We warmly welcome the family of Private William Ernest Garvey, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best as expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private William Garvey, who died while fighting in France in the First World War. William Ernest Garvey was born in 1882, one of 10 children of George and Jane Garvey of Miners' Rest near Ballarat in Victoria. He grew up near Leganatha, attended school at Marden South, and on the eve of First World War was working as a well borer in the Marden area. Garvey enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in Melbourne on the 8th of November 1915. After a period of training at Royal Park and Broadmeadows military camp, he left Australia in March 1916 with a reinforcement group for the 24th Battalion, bound for the training camps in England. He trained on the Salisbury Plain near Wiltshire before sailing for France in August 1916. William arrived on the Western Front at a time when the AIF was recovering from heavy losses suffered on the Somme. The 24th Battalion had fought its first major action at Pozières in July and had participated in the bitter fighting at Mouquet Farm throughout August. William joined the battalion as it came out of the trenches at Mouquet Farm and spent a brief period near Ypres in Belgium, in what was then a relatively quiet part of the line. The 24th Battalion returned to the Somme in November 1916 and filed into the line in the area between the villages of Fleur and Gerdecourt. By this time, the fighting of the Somme had pettered out as British and German troops prepared to hold their respective positions throughout the following winter. Rotating in and out of the front line regularly, the battalion was also involved in light railway construction and road work to maintain the lines of supply and communication up to the forward areas. Due to casualties in other battalions, principally from illness, companies of the 24th Battalion were constantly being sent up to the firing line to reinforce the Australian position throughout November 1916. ANC companies of the 24th Battalion were in the process of relieving B and D from holding the front line when German artillery shelled the Australian troops that congested the narrow communication trenches. On the 18th of November 1916, Garvey was wounded by shrapnel in the leg and thigh and evacuated to the 36th Casualty Clearance Station at nearby Hilly, where his wounds were treated. He became dangerously ill, most probably from blood poisoning, as his wounds became infected and was transported by hospital train to the No. 9 General Hospital at Rouen for evacuation to England, but died of his wounds the following day. Aged 34 at the time of his death, Garvey was buried at the St. Sever Cemetery extension at Rouen, where he rests today. A small epitaph on his headstone reads, "Deeply mourned by his sorrowing mother, brothers and sisters." William Garvey's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private William Garvey, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, in the hope of a better world. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
We forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there in the scrub, or at Pozier, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you very much for visiting the Australian War Memorial, and good evening.